Oh boy, here we go. It turns out the entire movement surrounding SKG has just hit a new milestone and things are getting way better if you were on the side of preserving video games. But before we begin, this video is sponsored by Snacksy and I've officially partnered and launched the Endymion TV Snacksy League and the results are officially in. There were a lot of you who participated, but these are the top 5 winners as of this league officially ending. The emails are slightly obscured, but as you can see here, Amway Man is in first place with 211,000 coins collected. So congratulations to you, Amway Man, you officially won your $200 Eniba gift card. In second place, we have Cyber Destruction with 38,000 coins. You officially won a $100 Eniba gift card yourself. Cav Guy, Steel Dark, and Red Storm, you all won $50 each, which is great to see too. And also a reminder to everyone who actually won in the league, Snacksy will be reaching out to you guys personally via email, so you guys will get your gift card sent to you that way, just so you know, okay? Thank you again. I should remind you, even if you participated in this event and didn't make it into the top 5, that all the points that you did earn are still yours to keep to spend on Eniba.com in any way that you wish to. So you all still won something in the end, which is great to see. And remember, no matter how many points you have, you can get things like gift card subscriptions to various services, in-game currency, or digital game codes that you can use on Steam, Xbox, Amazon, PayPal, PlayStation. It's up to you to do what you want with it. But there we go, guys. That was the Endymion TV Snacksy League. Should we do it again? I guess we're going to see, won't we? Thanks again to everybody who participated, and if you want ways to earn gift cards yourselves by playing your favorite games, remember to click the link in the description box below or pinned comment to sign up on Snacksy yourself so that you're ready for the next league when that comes around. There's a lot to go over here, so let's get into it. As Rock Paper Shotgun confirmed here, it is now official. SKG has passed the California State Assembly vote despite the game industry's best efforts. So what does this mean? Well, you see, the point of this bill and why the games industry publishers didn't want this to be pushed is simple. They lose a lot of control by this bill simply existing. The bill in question is called AB 1921, and one of the core pillars of it is that if a publisher decides to remove a game from its service and take it down without warning you, which is how they're normally doing it for years now, that if they do it now, they don't have to legally refund you the game even though it is no longer playable. Another reason why this bill scares them is because if it passes, which it has now to a higher level, it means that publishers can no longer ignore your demands. One of these core pillars of this bill is that if a game is taken offline, it needs to be left in a state that is still playable. This could be a single player version, or the game can exist somewhere on a server that is still accessible, even if it's controlled by the community of the game. Either way, normally, you wouldn't legally be allowed to do this, and now this has led to a lot of angry people getting even madder, because it means you just gained a lot more control. Another name for AB 1921 is the Protect Our Games Act. What they're asking for with this bill is that publishers now need to give notice before shutting down a server-dependent game, so always online. The general idea here is that if you buy a game, no matter what happens, right, financially or otherwise, that the game is going to be required by law to exist in some capacity so that you can still play it. That's the core of this bill. The bill has passed with support from both Democrats and Republicans in America, although it was mentioned in the report that most of the Republicans who voted on this bill were actually opposed to its passing, while the Democrats voted overwhelmingly in favor of the Protect Our Games Act, just something I should let people know for full transparency. This now means that the bill will go to the California State Senate, and this is where this whole thing either lives or kicks the bucket pretty much, and is also where this bill needs the help of people who specifically live in the state of California within the United States. So, if you are watching this and you do live there, there is a link in the description box of this video right now. If you could go and click that link, it's labeled findyourrep.legislator. You can click that link, go to contact me on their page there, and then confirm your support for AB 1921 or the Protect Our Games Act, if you will. So if you do this, that will help the bill pass and show also, and this is key, that there's strong public support for this movement in the first place. And it's important that we get this to as many people as possible who live in California. So if you can share the video or whatever you want, just get that link in as many people's hands as possible who live in California. Thank you very much too, okay? Because this is really important. Now you're probably wondering, well, what if I live outside of California, but I'm still an American citizen? That's fine. You can actually help too. So there will actually be another link in the description called ICMBS pobcontact.lc.ca. So if you click that link, here's the form on screen here, by the way. You're going to fill out your full legal name, you put your email address, all that stuff. Where it says select an issue, I would probably go with legislative, since this is obviously attached to a bill that is going to be forwarded up the court of law. And then you can comment below, like on the form, I mean, so you can make it clear that you're sending a form because of AB 1921 or the Protect Our Games Act and why it matters. So again, if you live outside of the US, you can also email the same group that is attached to that form as well. As the SKG subreddit puts it, you can also email this email on screen here to the Senator Christopher Cabaldin there. So editor, if you can just leave this PNG on screen for a bit so people can write it down or screenshot it, that would be great. So yeah, this means I think I have all my bases covered now. So if you live in California, you can do this via the Find Your Rep thing, which is in my description. If you're not in California, but still in the United States, use the other link I have in the description. And if you are not American, use that email I had on screen too. Just please, guys, be civil about it though. Don't say anything you might regret or could damage the reputation of the movement. Don't send any angry emails, please, or threaten anybody, okay? We need to ensure that we keep this professional and normal. Otherwise, like I said, it could make things a lot worse, so please don't do that, okay? Thank you. The point of this matter here is now we all pretty much have a way, American or really not, to voice our opinions and hopefully also strive for meaningful change. But like I said, despite the fact that this bill is passed to the upper echelons, there are those who are still not wanting it to exist at all. So now I'm going to tell you a lot about this group that hates everybody, and it's a lot. Let's get into it. This brings me to this other story from PC Gamer where the ESA, or Entertainment Software Association, is pretty much saying that this bill cannot pass or else. Like, here's what the ESA is saying against this bill. Assembly Bill 1921 could force developers to spend limited time and resources keeping old systems running instead of creating new games, features, and technology. In the end, this policy doesn't reflect how games actually work today. This bill sets strict rules that could ultimately mean fewer new and innovative experiences for players. But this isn't true, actually. You see, they're trying to gaslight you into believing that if you want new games to play in the future, that you somehow also need to accept these draconian conditions, but you really don't have to. As seen here, involving The Crew, which was the game that actually started this whole thing, by the way, it was able to be saved through updates, which then allowed for that game to be salvageable and still playable, despite Ubisoft initially claiming that this was all apparently impossible to do. Well, if this was so impossible, then why does this new version of the game exist? Oh, that's right, it's because it isn't impossible, is it? No, you see, the point is you just can't have nice things. Really, that's what's going on here. Because if you can have nice things, well, then the guys in the suits can't have their nice things. And how dare we challenge the suit guys on who can have what they want, right? One example given by PC Gamer, as seen here, in 2024, Islands of Insight, that's a puzzle game that was always online, is now not always online. You can just play it as a single player offline game. But I thought this was impossible, right? The ESA specifically told me that this couldn't exist. Are you saying, oh my, they're lying to me? Oh, how could they? Well, you also have Splitgate, as you can see here too. Also, they got a version of that game that allows for players to keep enjoying the games despite official support ending as well, which again goes against the ESA's comments. Even The Crew 2, as you can see here in 2025, was given an offline mode for that game too, despite it also apparently needing access to the internet to work, which no, it doesn't. You can now play both Crew games for as long as you want to, which is both good for you and Ubisoft, because that means people can still buy the game then. So this claim that games gaining these modes would not work is just, well, it's cope really. It's just not true at all. You can absolutely enjoy those games for what they are, and you should be able to keep playing them too. The entire point of the ESA opposing AB 1921 is pretty simple. It's because if it goes through, you will have control, which these days is the worst idea imaginable for people like this. Then you have Moritz Katzner. He's one of the main people involved with SKG and defending the rights of consumers openly, who denied the ESA's claims too. Here's what he said. AB 1921 is narrow. It applies to paid games going forward and gives companies options. Preserve ordinary use, patch the game, or refund the purchaser. The industry wants people to think this is a demand for eternal server support with endless costs and complications. It isn't. It's much simpler. If a company sells people a paid game, it should not be able to destroy the game's ordinary use later without notice or remedy. And it's really that simple. The ESA makes it seem like if you want to play The Crew, that Ubisoft will need to now, I don't know, pool endless resources to keep that reality going, but that isn't really the case. This is more of a one and done sort of fix. Just make the game into an offline mode or open to fan servers like Splitgate did, and well, that's pretty much it. The entire point of this is that these companies really just don't want you to have options. That's really what this all comes down to. Because if you have options and power, it means that they don't. And well, they're the guys in the suits. They're supposed to have that power now, right? Isn't that how it's supposed to work or something, I guess? This really all kind of sounds like old men yelling at clouds, and we're kind of just trying to tell the old guys that, hey, the clouds can't hear you. You know that, right? Like, none of this should be really up for debate. Really, the only reason why the ESA is doing this, and I will show you later on in the video too, and trying to shut this whole operation down is pretty simple. It is, yes, money and business for them, which kind of sucks really, because I mean, maybe I'm wrong and stupid, but let me know. But wouldn't you just make more money if the games you already spent the money making were still available to buy in the future? Surely the Crew or the Crew 2 has now made more money because they're still available to buy, right? Wouldn't Ubisoft then make less if they just took it offline for good and said that's it? Like, maybe I'm dumb, probably, who we kidding? But it kind of just seems so backwards for everyone involved, not just the players. Unfortunately, why this does matter is because the ESA has actually won stuff like this in the past, which is, yeah, that's rather concerning. Let's get into that now. So you see, in 2024, the Video Game History Foundation tried to have games that weren't publicly available anymore, either due to not being in print or being just really old games or what have you, still be accessible so that people could still play and enjoy these games that were obviously otherwise impossible to play. The ESA, however, said no, you can't do that. As PC Gamer said here, the ESA also claimed that there remains a substantial market for classic games, and that allowing widespread remote access, that means you playing it on your console like digitally or whatever, to preserved games with minimal supervision would present a serious risk to an important market. They continued, in the end, Shira Perlmutter, Register of Copyrights and Director of the U.S. Copyright Office, was not swayed by the arguments in favor of games preservation, ruling that proponents of video game preservation have not satisfied their burden to demonstrate that the requested uses are or are likely to be non-infringing. As seen here in a tweet by the Video Game History Foundation, they confirmed that the U.S. Copyright Office, alongside the ESA, who again is now trying to take down SKG, are responsible for why over 87% of games right now are legally inaccessible through any practical means, simply because they said no. The reasoning for this is probably, well, control, yes, but also so that if they want to just remaster games that are created into like new products, if you will, they want to financially benefit from that pull from this ludicrous 87% of inaccessible games so that they can just make further money. So does this mean that game preservation in the past was already subdued and destroyed because of money? Yes, absolutely. And are the ESA just trying to do the same thing again with SKG and this bill? Yeah, that seems to be the case, all right. And that number is real, by the way. As seen here in 2023, about 87% of all games are technically not playable right now. Like, fathom that, okay? That means that the games that you can access right now on whichever platform is only in that 13% of games that have ever existed. Isn't that crazy? As the foundation said here, there has never been a period in games history where more than 20% of all games are playable at the same time, due to the very laws and regulations that are currently trying to destroy everything again. Like, fathom that. Never once, ever. Like, that's serious. How's that okay? I mean, it really isn't. All of this because these groups just want control. That's really all it is. So when you ask the question, do you actually own it? In the eyes of the suits that are trying to tear this all down like they once did, they think you never owned anything to begin with, which is very scary and concerning for obvious reasons. Because judging by how the ESA and such have reacted to SKG and this bill, it is a very uncomfortable situation. Because all of this is just because of a push for ownership rights. That's all it really is. We're not asking to tear the entire system down, right? We're just asking them to respect us. And yet that's apparently too much to ask for these days, and it's kind of gross, man. The fact that the more we ask to be treated like people with rights, the more aggressively these types seem determined to resist that. That alone should tell you everything that you need to know. As the Video Games Foundation says here, the video game industry's main lobbying group has successfully argued to the U.S. Copyright Office that the industry already does enough to preserve its own history commercially, and that additional protections for preservation institutions would hurt their bottom line. You see, it's all about business. Nothing about whether you should have access as a right, because you shouldn't. I mean, according to them. It's frankly disgusting, but that's how they see it. And the fact that the game's foundation needs to travel now physically somewhere to play these games for historical upkeep or whichever other reason, when we both know they could just easily make these games available to play via the World Wide Web and then some, is crazy to do. All of this is being stifled on purpose simply because they want it to be that way, not because they can't fix it. They can, they just don't want to. So to see the ESA, which again successfully destroyed the rights of that game foundation already, to know that they're now setting their sights on SKG or Stop Destroying Games, that is very worrying. As they state here, the ESA has claimed both in 2015 and 2021 that they and the rest of the industry have already done enough when it comes to game preservation, and that any further acts on this are not necessary. Again, this is them confirming, right, that only 13% of games have the right to exist at any given time, and that they should be the only ones that legally have the right to shut down any and all games they want to with a flick of a button, even if you bought it. So you see why this matters so much? Because this is egregious, okay? The ESA has also claimed, if SKG or this bill were to fully pass the way that it's going, which it is likely so far, that it would also open players to what they call unsafe community content. And they would also open game developers and publishers to rising costs that they aren't ready for, which, let's just say it how it is, that is cope. Knowing what we know now about the ESA, these people will spin any story they can if it means that they get what they want. We know this. I just showed you. In unsafe community content, I mean, that's kind of a stretch, right? They're just trying to use some child baiting whataboutism to fix this issue that they think needs fixing. It's also rich that it's totally okay to expose kids to, say, harmful practices via loot boxes and that sort of stuff, which the ESA apparently has no problem with. But their ability to play games and enjoy them and not have them torn from their ownership, well, now you're just the embodiment of evil, aren't you? Yeah, the entire thing kind of stinks, right? But it's glorious that unlike the Video Game Association, that what SKG is pushing is something I really don't think, so far anyways, hopefully, that the ESA can even stop if they wanted to. Because this really is a battle of morals, and believing that you have the right to stop players from accessing what they paid for, I mean, it's just wrong. It's a violation of rights. The ESA believes, right, that you should not even view games as art, or even products that you should have access to. Instead, these games are just temporary services at best. It's a very different philosophy. And it is beautiful to see these two things colliding headlong the way that they are. I'm gonna be real. Because the debate is important, because it's not really about technical challenges, but really the precedent. Because if we win this, which we are, by the way, right now at least, it will force these publishers and these groups to rethink their business models. Which will, I guess in the ESA's case, they are right at least that it will change how games are made. However, in my opinion, that isn't a bad thing. Because if it means that you're going to get less Fortnites and, say, more single-player games, I mean, that's a win in my book. But the fact that we have this group that has existed for 32 years, by the way, and never once have they tried to do anything in the interest of you, the player, over other companies, like that should concern you like no other, because it's wrong. Currently, when this bill passes, the Protect Our Games Act one, I mean, it will effectively work as a shield for all of us now. It will now mean from January 2027 onward that all games that are sold after this date will then be beholden to this new law. Which means if that happens, the ESA can really do nothing in your consumer rights being taken away. Like, they can't do anything. And the fact that it will now also give you 60 days of notification before a game's online services are taken offline, I mean, which then results in a single player version of said game existing, like that will be great. I should note, the only games that will not be affected by these are free-to-play games or subscription-based ones. Unfortunately, this means if, say, something like, I don't know, Apex, Fortnite, stuff like that were to go offline one day, which isn't very likely, I know, in Fortnite's case, but games like that, they would not be saved by this bill, unfortunately, if it was in power or not. And that also goes to subscription-based games too, like your World of Warcraft, although, again, I don't see that game going offline anytime soon either. But this does mean that any single-player game will now be safe in the future, which that is great to see, because that's a lot of games, right? That's a lot. Here are some of the rules as seen here on screen in involving this bill, which will, yes, give you far more access and power than the ESA will ever want you to have in the first place. And here's a second part of the bill that's also on screen here. And personally, I think the second part is far more funny because the fact that this bill states if a game has to be erased for whatever reason, that it will legally be needed for said publisher to refund that price that was paid by the player in full. This, oh my god, dude, it makes me so happy because this is what the ESA is probably the most afraid of, because this is likely why they just hate this bill so much, because now they can't sell you something and then take it away and also keep your money legally. So they are right that games will need to be made differently. Otherwise, the publisher is going to be losing millions of dollars if they don't. And honestly, that's beautiful to see. But look at how the ESA responds in their official statement. Let me read it for you. The Entertainment Software Association, which helps represent the interest of major game publishers, that's a red flag, publicly told the California Assembly last month that the bill, the Protect Our Games Act, misrepresents how modern game distribution actually works. Consumers receive a license to access and use a game, not an unrestricted ownership interest in the underlying work. The eventual shutdown of outdated or obsolete games is a natural feature of modern software, the group added, especially when that software requires online infrastructure maintenance. Like you saw that, right? A natural feature. That's how they put it. That's how they're going to go with this. No, you see, us being able to revoke your access and keep your money, that's a natural feature. Like that's what there's that's insane. How, like, this is so important, dude. These people are so greedy that honestly the word greedy doesn't even seem adequate here. Like, we need a word that goes beyond greedy to explain what's going on here. But look, if you ask me, the excuses here are starting to fall apart. There's no reason to oppose this other than because you're like a supervillain pretty much. And a path to functionality is a good thing, but the fact that the ESA is constantly redirecting this story to the worst case scenarios that they're making up is why this is so annoying. Because everything they told us is impossible or too expensive or complicated, yet somehow you have the modders and the preservationists and the dedicated communities out here that are repeatedly accomplishing things that major corporations are claiming just can't be done, yet they happen anyways with far less resources too, by the way. This is probably why this has struck a nerve the way that it did, because they're telling us this is a natural order thing again when it really isn't. They want it this way because it benefits them, and to that I say no, not anymore. It's time that games benefit us, so please, if you haven't already, and if this video hasn't convinced you what we're up against here, which is quite literally the Legion of Doom supervillains at this point, please share those links in the description box, okay? Get people you know to sign them, spread the word, it doesn't matter who or what. And thanks again to Snacksy for sponsoring this video. When I have another league going, I'll be sure to let you guys know, but remember to check the link in the description or pinned comment to get started winning your points so you can be ready. Thanks again to Snacksy. I don't care what you think about politically or socially here, because right now, just please put that all aside and just work together here, okay? If we can all agree on one thing, it should be this. So I thank you for watching. Please share those links on social media. Subscribe if you'd like to. We'll see you guys next time, and take care of yourselves.